Hello everyone, I'm Rahul Soor and I'm currently working with Jeremy at IMGroup's online services. In this webinar, I would be talking about a real-life IT problem faced by a broadcaster and how Azure helped them to solve the problem. Well, for the purpose of the webinar, we have generalized the name of the entities. Now, in our scenario, we have a media broadcasting corporations called Contoso Incorporations, who are into the business of broadcasting media either over a television or via web. Contoso generally do not produce any media clips and therefore they have offshored the filmmaking to Fabricam Incorporations. Now, before broadcasting any media clip, Contoso requires to review and approve these media clips. The review of the media clips would be performed by Contoso users or Fabricam users or independent or freelance editors. Contoso is actually also required to release information to public domain, and which Contoso actually also thinks about monetizing it in near future. Well, traditionally, for review and approve process, Contoso has been working on a manual distribution of the media artifacts. So therefore, Contoso were actually incurring a huge operation delays, additional cost, and considerable time to market. So therefore, Contoso's IT guys actually developed a whole system, automated system, to handle this collaboration process. But they quickly realized the challenging task of how would they allow external users to access their system, and how would they allow their existing systems to talk to another Fabricam existing servers. That too, definitely yes, without all the secured communications. The other thing that actually they have to answer was how would public storage area scale and how could they monetize that storage for in near future. Well, the business administration as such was additionally planning to induct more production houses into the process of filmmaking, and therefore they were adding more operational overheads and maintenance costs. Well, then the IT team actually consolidated all these issues into 4 major questions which they thought were required to answer the feasibility of the whole design that they have created. And the 4 questions they had to answer were: how to connect disconnected systems together, how do they manage user access, how do they utilize existing resources, how do they manage expansion with capacity but without any additional cost. When looking for answers, Contoso's IT team heard about Windows Azure Cloud Platform and they thought of evaluating the capabilities for the solution design. Now for the Azure platform, the IT team had to simply rehost with definitely some minor refactoring their web application into a new component called Azure Web. Well, the Azure Web Server on the cloud platform only had a public connectivity. So therefore, all users having internet connection could easily access the web application hosted on Azure Web. Therefore, Contoso actually achieved their first goal of accessibility for the users without creating bulky access lists in their firewalls. Now, for providing authorized user access into the application was refactored to rely on AppFabric access control. Now, the access control in turn was responsible for providing orchestration for user authentication process depending upon the chosen authentication provider. For example, for Contoso's or Fabricam's user, the users would be redirected to the ADFS, and ADFS in turn hooks up to the AD server and provides domain-based authentication. Whereas for freelancers, they could actually access control, could redirect the users to Windows Live ID, Google, Facebook for authentication. And hereby, which we can see is that solution design could easily integrate with multiple identity providers without affecting the application at all. And now moreover, the user management capabilities or responsibilities now resided with the respective domain administrator or the individual rather than Contoso incorporations. Now, in order to provide communication between Contoso's servers, which is sitting behind the firewalls, and Fabricam server, which is again sitting there behind their own firewalls, The designer relied on App Fabric Relay Server. The App Fabric Relay Server integrated with access control services to provide ability for extending secured communication behind the firewalls. Now the server application from Contoso initiated the connection into the relay server, and the client server then connects to the relay server for message exchange. The relay server provided a bridge between the client and the servers, and both sitting behind the firewalls. The data dissemination requirement was actually achieved using Azure Storage and Azure Marketplace Data Market. And these two subsystems actually acted as a large repositories, containers, which could be either accessed using REST-based APIs or actually URIs. And the access into these repositories would be easily governed by user access policies. Well, the elasticity of Windows Azure platform provided the expansion capability required by these applications. So the application hosted on Azure Web Storage, App Fabric or Data Market could be easily expanded or be reduced depending on the usage. So with the new refactored design and Azure as a platform, Contoso's IT team achieved all the main objectives, which were accessibility into the application, user authentication, system interaction behind firewalls, and disseminating information into accessible storage area without changing much of the design. Well, theoretically the concept looks good on the slide, but how feasible is it technically to implement this concept?